Clayton, I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. I ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we stop to thank you for the many blessings of this day. And we ask, Lord, now that you be with us as we proceed with the business for the town of Clayton. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We'd like to add item 9D, Downtown Social District discussion. Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director, will be handling that.
All right, I have that noted. I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next is your consent agenda.
Move we approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Under administrative items, the first item is the amending DDA bylaws.
Mayor and Council, at the March 6th council meeting, the process for appointments to Town of Clayton advisory boards was adopted. This process states all boards will have 2 alternates in addition to the standard board members. These bylaws have been amended to reflect these alternates.
All right, any questions or comments for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-34.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of Resolution 2023-34. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next is the Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month proclamation. Town of Clayton Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas Tourette syndrome is an inherited neurological disorder that is characterized by involuntary physical and vocal tics that occur many times a day, and whereas Tourette syndrome is often accompanied by other mental health disorders such as attention deficit and obsessive compulsive disorder, learning disabilities, and anxiety. Whereas there is an important need for more professional help with interest and expertise to identify, counsel, and treat people with Tourette syndrome, a disorder that is often misdiagnosed and understood. Whereas positive actions to assist children and families living with Tourette syndrome would result from a broadening of public and professional knowledge and acceptance of Tourette syndrome. And whereas the Tourette Association of America is actively providing services to families, educating medical professionals and teachers, and supporting research to better understanding of these signs and treatments of TS. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Clayton Town Council, I, Jody McLeod, Mayor of the Town of Clayton, do hereby proclaim May 15th through June 15th, 2023 will be recognized as Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month in the Town of Clayton as a special day to promote understanding, compassion, acceptance for all of our fellow citizens who deserve and need our support to break the stigma that surrounds Tourette syndrome. Proclaimed this 5th day of June, 2023. Pass that down. Thank you. Up next, under public hearing, our first item is 2022-154 River Muse Conditional Zoning District and Master Plan. This is a continuation from the May 15th, 2023 meeting.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just one slide to remind you about this project. It's proposed rezoning of properties from planned development residential to conditional zoning residential. Would allow up to 825 units of residential plus an assembly event center at a density of roughly 3 units an acre on 277 acres located on NC 42 East by the Neuse River. This is the master plan as you saw it at the May 15th public hearing. Following the May 15th public hearing, there were several changes that have been made. One is the mix of units has been revised to reduce the number of townhomes and increase the number of single-family detached homes. The total maximum of 825 units remains, but now there's proposed to be up to 279, or a maximum of 279 single-family detached homes, increase from 246, and a maximum of 306 townhomes proposed, which is a decrease from 339, and no change in the number of apartment units at 240. The master plan was also updated to reflect a change in the mix of units. The developer has provided revised architectural elevations, and the conditions have been revised. The new master plan is shown on your screen there, and that circle is roughly where the change has occurred. So as you can see from the previous one, there was in that area where there was circle, it was a split between single-family detached homes and townhomes in that area, and now it's all single-family home pod. No other major changes to the master plan. The architectural elevations, there are more in your packet, but just a few of them that they provided on the screen are some of the elevations of the detached and executive homes. And then a couple of the elevations they provided for the townhomes. Finally, the conditions of approval, some have been revised. The first revision is to condition 6, where you can see the revision to the mix of units, and also the assembly use has been dropped from a maximum of 350 seats to 300 seats. Next condition that's changed is condition 12 regarding the hard surface sports courts or pickleball court, depending on what may be decided to be constructed in HOA amenity areas and reserved for use by residents of the development, or may be constructed on the land to be dedicated to the town. Sentence was added at the end stating that in lieu of hard surface sports courts on the land to be dedicated to the town as public parkland, if such land is dedicated, the developer and council may agree to fund or construct other amenities such as picnic facilities or canoe kayak launch on the Neuse River in accordance with the development agreement. And then also condition 14 has an additional sentence added at the end that I apologize is cut off. The sentence added at the end is the developer shall not be required to construct the public greenway or trail until the adjacent property owner allows greenway access through their property in order to avoid a dead-end trail. This sentence was added to the condition at the request of the developer. And then condition 15 was revised to strike the words prior to approval of the preliminary plat, just requiring that the development agreement shall be executed between the town and the developer. And condition 16 was added to about the land dedication and that it will be governed by the development agreement. Either land dedication or a fee in lieu of dedication will be paid. Condition 18 is architectural conditions. There were several changes to these you can see on your screen. The first one is that the entirety of the homes will be fiber, cement, brick, and/or stone material. Previously, the condition did allow vinyl for use of vinyl on the side or rear exteriors. That was struck, and with side and rear exteriors now will be fiber cement siding with colors matching the front. New requirement for all single-family detached homes encompassing at least 25% masonry on the home's front facade was added, as well as a number of additional items at the bottom there. Requirement that minimum 15% of the single-family detached home lots will be at least 8,000 square feet. A minimum of 15% of the single-family detached homes will be at least 3,000 square feet in size. A minimum 15% of the single-family detached homes will have a minimum of 40% masonry on the front facade, and a minimum 15% of the single-family detached homes will have a raised foundation and 2 steps going into the home. And then the next condition that had some revisions was condition 21, which was relating to the transportation improvements, and that was the requirement for monitoring for a signal at the NC 42 U-turn between the 2 site drives. This is based on council discussion at the last meeting. This condition requires signal warrant analysis be conducted following the submittal of the 300th building permit. If not warranted, then again, another analysis following submittal of the 500th building permit, and if not warranted then a final analysis prior to submittal of the final building permit. If at any time the signal is warranted by DOT standards, then the developer shall begin construction of traffic signal prior to submittal of the final building permit. Condition 14, the allowance for on-street parking to be counted towards the event venue's parking requirement has been struck. And a new condition 27 has been added to require an informational statement on plats and deeds and in covenants for parcels located on the western boundary of the site regarding the 24-hour operation of the nearby Caterpillar facility and potential noxious sounds and dust, provided this provision does not waive the right of any owner of such parcels to enforce or request enforcement of any noise ordinances. With that, the considerations are still the same from the previous meeting, and the recommended statement of consistency and reasonableness is the same. It's also in your packet. I'm available for any questions. The applicant's also here with a short presentation.
All right, any questions or comments for staff? Mr. Casey.
Hey, Ben, for this particular conditional zoning, does the developer have to abide by curb and gutter, sidewalks? I mean, what do we traditionally expect to see since there's a bubble plan, I guess?
Correct, but they would still have to abide by the town standards for subdivision as well as road design, which is curb, gutter, and sidewalk on both sides.
Okay, do we require tree-lined streets as well, or is that something additional?
We do have a requirement for street trees, and they would have to follow that.
Okay, thank you. I know it's not in this current presentation, but the previous one, I think this area was designated as low density initially?
Yes, the future land use plan shows a majority of this area is low density residential. In the future land use plan, that is up to 3 units per acre in density. And I believe there's language around up to about 25% attached units in the area. And so this development is proposing a density of just below or right at 3 units per acre.
For, I guess, our zoning ordinances, we have RE, we have R10, R8, R6. What would a typical low density community have, I guess, on lot size? Square footage?
It would be somewhere based on the land use, the classification in the future land use map. The low density classification corresponds somewhere between the RE and R10 zoning districts. R10 is roughly a little over 4 units an acre, and RE is, depending on whether you have well and septic or water and sewer, can be anywhere from about 3.5 to 4 to 2 units an acre.
Okay, and I think the minimum lot square footage for this development's what?
I cannot remember offhand, but I believe it's around 5,000 square feet or so.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Any other questions for staff? All right, thank you, Ben.
Hello, everyone. I appreciate the mayor and council and town staff giving us another opportunity to be up here today. We appreciate the opportunity to present again and address your previous concerns regarding the proposed development project. And I want to thank the council and mayor for their recommendations. We've taken these considerations and the feedback you provided during our last meeting and have made what we feel are positive modifications to our initial proposal, ultimately making the site plan and future community more appealing to a wider variety of residents. Our objective of this site was to work with the town and adhere to the 2040 plan set forth by the town staff and elected officials. It's important to keep in mind we're sitting on a commercial corridor with close proximity to amenities such as restaurants, retail, commercial, industrial, education, and also just a 2-minute drive to additional amenities into downtown Clayton. With that said, us as a developer and town staff feel that this large of a site justifies the current layout and diversity of product types. Now, I know each council member in our previous hearing, including the mayor, had some concerns. I'd like to address those concerns tonight real quick. Councilmember Casey, firstly, we heard and understood your concerns regarding the number of townhomes on this project. We reduced that number of townhomes to 10% and instead proposed additional single-family homes to further balance the viability of the site. We've also committed 15% of the single-family homes to being above 3,000 square feet, placing those homes in an executive housing category. This change will help to add to the existing character of the planned development by helping create further separation within each product type. I'd like to show you just the bubble map here again. When I talk about the separation, where it's highlighted here, those are now single-family homes. We originally had thought that the separation would be healthy just with the boulevard, but in further investigation, and to your point, putting single-family homes where those townhomes were and using the utility easement as kind of an existing buffer, which is around approximately 50 yards, will help to advance our goal of having separate pocket communities within this community. So if you're in the townhome community, you'll feel that. Single-family home community, you'll feel that as well. So that worked out really great, in addition to obviously reducing the townhomes by 10%. So Councilmember Everett, I appreciate your comments in the last hearing regarding the mix of quality housing types and creating affordability and attainable housing within such a great site. It's important for you to know that even with the changes we are making regarding executive housing, there will still be an opportunity within the development for all levels of income and walks of life. Councilmember Thompson, I know you mentioned that you liked our strategy in emphasizing our goal here to create a variety of neighborhoods within the community, each with their own unique feel while still cohesively, functioning as one integrated community. Positive separation between product types will be a big factor in our decision as we enter into the platting and construction drawing phase of the development, and we'll be using berms and foliage to create barriers within the community. Councilmember Archer, you stated concerns about traffic. We have agreed to monitor the traffic throughout the various levels of development and development periods to ensure there won't be any future traffic hazards for incoming residents. We appreciate that thought. We think that's a great way to do it. Mayor McLeod and Councilmember Casey, furthermore, we've taken into consideration your executive housing ideas, and we strategically placed those executive houses along the most beautiful areas of the site, being the floodplain and stream borders. These homes offer a high-end product type and will further enhance the community by promoting a diverse socioeconomic environment and providing added value to the whole neighborhood. I also want to apologize again for the neighborhood meeting mess up. I know Mayor McLeod, you brought that up last time, and just so you all know, we've taken steps since our previous town council hearing to contact the neighbors who attended the previous meeting and address their concerns, which were mainly traffic concerns. Councilmember Sims, we're 100% aligned with you in ensuring that these homes do have somewhat of a wow factor. We've created a new set of architectural standards that better showcase what our future plans are for the site. We felt going into the previous hearing with our agreed upon architectural standards that we were in good standing, but it was obvious we did not do a good job showcasing them visually in a format that was not conducive to our future plans, and hopefully the new visuals within the packet are giving you what you're looking for. These architectural standards are going to help not only execute great, fantastic housing on this site, but they're going to ensure that the aesthetics of the community will be attractive and diverse, which is big for us. Ben touched on them, but I'd just like to go over them again just because it's a big change for us, and we think that it's positive for the community. And 15% of these single-family lots will be over 8,000 square feet, providing ample space for larger families or those desiring more yard space. All of the homes within the executive lots will be 3,000 square feet or above, accommodating to those with larger living space desires. All of the homes within the executive lots will showcase a minimum standard of 40% masonry. And keep in mind the remainder of the project will all still adhere to the 25% masonry standard, but the executive homes will have the 40%, which will allow for more of a grand feel for these larger homes. And all of the executive homes will also have raised foundations, a feature that will enhance curb appeal and character. As I conclude here and answer any questions, I just want to let the council know, and it's extremely important for everyone to understand that the agreed upon architectural standards here across the entire site not only guarantee a quality of homes, but will also create visual interest and diversity within the community, resulting in mixed styles, and it'll cater to just a broad range of families and individuals, fostering a vibrant and diverse neighborhood that will evolve and thrive for years to come. Last but not least, I also want to thank Caterpillar for being here today. We've had some constructive conversations and talks over the last few weeks, and we're looking forward to working together on both the Mountain to Sea Trail, which is really exciting, and also a healthy border between both parcels. So thank you, everyone, and I look forward to discussing the revised plans further.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Casey.
Hey, George, thank you for your presentation. Appreciate some of the concessions that you made. As I had mentioned before, this is a unique parcel of land, having been able to tour it a few times, and you guys have something special. Obviously, with that also comes a great responsibility. I did have a few questions regarding this particular, one of the conditions, I think it was under condition number 18, it said something about side or rear patios were provided on, I saw in one section it said 50%, another section, I guess maybe in the draft amendment, it said 75% of the single family homes. So is it 50 or 75?
So it's going to be 75. That's a condition that was not brought up by any of the council members or staff, but it was just something we thought we could adhere to further enhance the community and the homes.
Okay, thank you. And then during our last meeting, there was also talk about in the developer agreement, maybe a condition on owner occupied. I wasn't able to get that, I guess, revised version of the developer agreement. Is that do you know what number that is, or?
I don't know what number that is. I know it went into the developer agreement hopefully this morning. I think our attorney was talking to the town attorney on that, but it will be 50% of the homes and townhomes on the site will be restricted from rentals. Is that the question you were asking?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah.
So would we get that?
Can we confirm that's?
Yeah. Thank you.
In the agreement? I do have an email received today from our attorney. I mean, we can obviously sort of make that a condition for approval tonight, but it should be in there.
Okay, thank you. And like I said before, I appreciate the 15%. To me, though, when you take that 15% and you break it down by the 825 homes, it's less than 5% of the units within that community. And I think when we were, echoing the message last council meeting, this is a unique piece of property. With that becomes a big responsibility. And is there any thought behind that? Why 15%? Why so few? 95% of that community is going to be, not have that product.
So when we looked at the site, we really had to find the areas that had the most natural beauty, and to us that tells, an executive housing type. And there's only so much room to put an executive house on this site that's going to back up against a floodplain or a stream, right? And as we made the lots larger, 8,000 square feet or above, we found that we were kind of running out of space. And so it seems low from the overall site, but if you take, the actual homes themselves, the single-family detached homes, which is the actual product that the executives are going to be looking for, 15% of that product will be executive housing type. So there's other pockets in this area that aren't going to look as beautiful, and so we feel we've maxed out the areas where it's going to look the nicest. However, if that's said, if there's an opportunity to discuss today some potential homes of a greater size, we can talk about that, but they wouldn't be on, unfortunately, bordering the most beautiful parts of the development.
Are you willing to make any additional conditions regarding that? So up that 15 to a higher percentage, and then maybe elevated crawls or false crawls as another option versus the 15% that are listed?
Sure. Can I confer with my... So with us being out of space on the most desirable areas of this development, what we would be willing to do is add an additional 5% of homes in the single-family detached home category to be 3,000 square feet or above. And those homes will still adhere to the definition of executive housing, meaning elevated foundations and 40% masonry on the facade.
Okay, what about elevated crawls? Would you be willing to make, I guess, another condition regarding the elevated crawls, even though if it's not an executive style house?
Yes, so it's obviously really hard to commit fully on something like that, especially without a cut and fill. But what I would be willing to do is add an additional 10% of the homes to have the elevated foundations across all the single-family development, or single-family detached home portion of the development, meaning 30% of all the homes within the single-family detached home pods will be elevated foundations.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that was a concern to me was the general lot square footage of 5,000 square feet. We approved another development that here recently, I think it was the only single family development that we approved, detached single family, that had 5,000 square foot lots. So can you kind of discuss the thought process on the 5,000 square foot lots? And also, we don't really have a zoning code. I think our smallest zoning codes are 6, which is a 6,000 square foot lot.
Sure. It, again, is without having the cut and fill, we wanted to give ourselves the optionality to have at least a handful of 5,000 square foot lots within the community. We looked at other developments that have been passed. I mean, we were told to kind of look at country lanes, And we noticed that they did have a 6,000 square foot minimum standard. However, when we looked at their architectural conditions, we felt ours were so far above and beyond what they had. And our theory was, there's going to be some less desirable areas on the site. We do have a utility easement to deal with. We are going to have, a boulevard that goes through the site. And, some of those homes along those areas aren't going to potentially justify a higher premium price point. But with that said, with the architectural standards where they're at, I can truly say with confidence, if you were to take a 5,000 square foot lot with the homes that we're going to build with these architectural standards and place them in a community like Country Lanes, it was going to be an executive house potentially in that development. I'm not discounting what they're building. They're great builders. But so, we ask ourselves, well, would you rather have a 6,000 square foot lot with architectural standards well above what we have right now, or a 5,000 square foot lot with fantastic architectural standards? And we feel that from our past experience, the consumer will take the little bit smaller lot all day with the higher end architectural standards. And so, again, not all the lots on the site are going to be that 5,000 square foot, but we like to have that optionality, because if we need to tuck something in certain areas, we get through the cut and fill, we'd hate to lose a lot entirely.
If I can make one suggestion, potentially, if we look at, because as we're looking at the current site plan as it sits, and you've got the boulevard that's kind of the main corridor going down, we envision both sides of those flanking with rear-loaded products. So we're eliminating a lot of the garage-facing products, but with rear-loaded products, takes additional infrastructure and alleys that take up some of the lot size. So if we can maybe suggest front-loaded products have a minimum of 6,000 square feet, but rear-loaded products is a minimum of 5,000 square feet. Maybe that's something that we can meet in the middle then.
Say that again.
Front-loaded would be a minimum of 6,000 square feet lot size, and then rear-loaded would be a minimum of 5,000 square feet.
Thank you. I honestly, I'd have to think about it from the planning director's perspective on how that, impacts the development, but that your willingness to offer that is appreciated. And I think that might be something we could add as an additional condition or so, just to, where there's some wiggle room. There's the discretion of the planning staff. One other question I had is the elevations. Do you have those on the presentation?
Yes.
I mean, that's a night and day difference than what, we saw, last council meeting. I did notice that some of them have second story balconies, which is not one of the conditions. So how can we maybe capture that in these renderings? And there may be some other council people that have comments on this as well, but just wanted to kind of start there with that.
It's a great question. Obviously we haven't selected all of our builders at this point, but the builders we've been speaking to have been giving us these elevations. We feel confident that the majority of them, if not all of them, could potentially be on the site. But it's obviously near impossible right now to put the stamp on it. However, everything we're showing here showcases the architectural standards that we have agreed upon, right? It showcases the masonry. It showcases the aesthetic look of the home. I mean, it showcases an executive home on there as well, And so I get that things could change a little bit, but based on where we stand right now and how far we are from actually building, we're fairly confident that these are what the homes are going to look like that are on the site. And you mentioned a second story balcony. There are going to be some of those on the site for sure. So if there's a condition we can put in where X amount of, or a small percentage or some sort of percentage of those are in there, we're happy to do that.
Sorry.
Good. So glad they got garage door stuff. I would want to like this.
Sorry for all the powwow meetings that were going on over in the back. So to that Country Lane development, we looked at some of the architectural standards that putting the feet to the fire of making sure that these homes are ending up going to be gorgeous and what we're promising. So we took a little bit of their list. We added some additional things that from every single picture and home that you see, some of the characteristics are uniform, but some of the characteristics makes it a little bit more unique. So having a list of these additional features, and I can read them off, and promising Country Lane promised 2, we promised 3 because we know that a minimum of 3 of these features will be implemented in every single home. Decorative window trim, shutters, board and batten, shakes, decorative gable vents, hip roof lines, horizontal trim boards, dormers, brick or stone accent, which we've already discussed, that's going to be on 25% of all the facades, front porch columns, and 2-story porch. So taking what was already approved with 2 features, we're adding an additional 3rd, plus the fact that this 25% of the facade is masonry on all of our product. And again, this goes to the executive housing category.
Right, I appreciate that. I mean, if you want to do that, I was thinking that, or I know that we had a condition in the Country Lane where it talked about the images just being similar based on the discretion of the planning director. However y'all want to go, one way or the other, either way, I just, yeah.
I'm fairly confident that, you know, again, these are inspiration photos. You know, these are houses that we've actually, some of them we've already built or are talking to builders about. So I get it from your guys' perspective of, is this just a picture? Is this just a home? But if you're taking some of these features that we're looking at, I'm okay adding these characteristics as that part of a condition and making sure that we're doing a minimum of 3 with those executive homes.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's tough on the fly just to kind of read, yeah. But it is taking something that was passed and we're adding something that was from 2 to 3 and the 2-story porch option as well, which was not included in the previous application.
Okay, thank you. I do not have any more questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Any others? Ms. Archer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all so much for being back here again tonight, and I'm really happy with the changes that have been made. I just can't thank you all enough. I think you really listened and, you know, did some research and came to us with something that, not that we weren't certain we were going to get something great, but it definitely just makes it a lot easier to be comfortable with what we've got here. I did want to say that, you know, as in terms of the ratio between basically the 3 housing types, and I know some people have some heartburn about the number of apartments and townhomes, and I totally understand that. I just, for my part, wanted to state that, you know, that area of Clayton is changing. We now have a 4-lane paved, very accessible highway there, as well as, you know, other commercial and multifamily development right there in the same area. So for me, this ratio that you know, it's about 1/3 of each type of housing on this property. I do think that fits in with the area, and I see this as an area to have some higher density when I look at the future land use map and that sort of thing. as for conditions, we just spoke about the single-family housing, loved all of that. I wondered if you were open to a condition for the apartments to have balconies. I didn't see that specifically mentioned.
Absolutely. I know we spoke about that last time. Mayor McLeod brought that up, and we've never built an apartment without a balcony. It's just so standard for us, but of course, we'll put that in the conditions for sure.
Great. And that's all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Joey, I have one more question.
He lied.
All right, this will be over soon. I apologize. The exterior trim of the multifamily, what is that? I didn't see that in the conditions. I just, wanted.
Yeah, so the language about the exterior trim on the apartment buildings was actually just straight from your code. So it was not a modification to your code in the case of the multifamily.
So is it going to have cement siding, or is it going to have something else? Because we don't have any renderings on the multifamily in these elevations as well.
We did have one picture. Do you know what you plan? One moment, please.
It'd be similar, whatever the zoning code suggested, but it's not going to be vinyl. It would be a mixture of mason and fiber cement.
Okay, can we add that as a condition?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, no vinyl anywhere except for the miscellaneous one line that we had with trims and.
right, last time. Okay, that was one of my questions at
Yep.
the last council meeting, so I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
it was captured this time. And I think y'all agreed to it at that one, so thank you. I have no other questions now, finally.
Ms. Archer?
As well. The condition regarding the rear-loaded 5,000 square foot versus the front-loaded 6,000 square foot lot. I just wanted to clarify, I didn't want that condition to force a change in the layout, in the proposed layout. So for example, if you want to have the boulevard with the rear-loaded product, is the way this condition's worded going to remove that possibility? Because I would actually not be in favor of that, or I'd want at least further discussion of it. I guess as long as it's proposed in there as an option, because I feel like that could be a really creative and good-looking outcome, and I would hate for the condition to be worded in a way that removed that option.
Well, I think if we agree to rear loaded being a minimum of 5,000 square feet and front loaded being a minimum of 6,000 square feet, then it would accomplish both goals.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Mr. Thompson?
I appreciate the hard work on this, and on both sides. I'm thankful that our council has worked very hard to come up with questions and to challenge you guys, and I'm also extremely thankful that you guys are willing to accept the feedback and take action. And so I like this a lot better than what we saw last week. I feel like, this visualization is much better, much improved. With regard to the density, not everybody, we've got to look at the future, and not everybody wants a large estate home, and not everybody wants an apartment or a townhome. And for people in this area that are currently here and for people coming here, I think this is a good representation and mixture of what, it gives people options so that there's something for everybody. And I like the willingness of your group to do that. And because I don't like the one size fits all for anything. This is a big mixture, but I think it allows for big families and single people to alike have somewhere to go. So I appreciate your hard work on it, and I have no problems with what you presented tonight.
Thank you so much for kind words and support. Really, really mean it.
So I got in trouble last time because I said, what you're bringing up here is really not a wow. And so tonight I want to say, what you brought up here tonight is a wow. It's visually and aesthetically pleasing. You know, the whole more executive homes, which, you know, I'm not an expert. I've only lived here all my life. But I know that that is a huge part of the market that would be super successful for you guys, you know? And to Councilman Casey's point, this is a very beautiful, one-of-a-kind piece of property in Clayton, North Carolina. And we want to make sure it gets to be the optimal of what it can be. And you guys have knocked this out of the ballpark in that regard. I hope that when it's time to do the streetscape, tree streetscape, that you keep in mind that what kinds of trees and how close by infrastructure is, because we just had an issue with that with a former development, and we had to go back. We had to go like on site in the subdivision, see where the trees were proposed, how close it was to infrastructure, and how it was not going to be. It was going to be very costly to HOA and future repairs and stuff like that. So
Sure.
we do have, you know, rules and stuff to go by, but we've learned that there are going to be times where we're going to have to make some modifications to that kind of thing. So
Okay.
I think you guys have done a great job, and I truly appreciate you working with this council, with our town, to create and to set yourself up for super success with this kind of project.
I appreciate that. And in regards to the streetscapes, it sounds like you guys have a case study on that already. And if you could provide any information so we can kind of get ahead of it, we'd love to take a look at what happened.
Yes.
Great.
All right. Anything else? All right. Just for the record, the public hearing on this was closed at our last, before we continue the meeting at our last meeting. But I do want to make sure that any and all clerk documents that were submitted are entered into the record for various opinions or comments that we had on this. We have that. Okay, awesome. All right, any further questions from the developer? All right.
Mayor, I hope our planning director is going to recap the various amended conditions for us.
That's exactly what I was getting up here to do.
His own clerk. Go ahead, Ben.
All right, so what I got, and please let me know if any of this is incorrect or needs to be changed. These are primarily all architectural. So one, increase the percentage patio homes from 50 to 75. Then increase the percentage of single-family detached homes that would be a minimum 3,000 square foot home size from 15% to 20%. Increase the percentage of homes that are required to have a raised foundation from 15 to 30%. Front-loaded single-family detached homes have to be a minimum of 6,000 square feet lot size. Rear-loaded single-family detached homes would have a minimum 5,000 square foot lot size. Add a condition regarding architectural features that they listed out, requiring a minimum of 3 from that list for all single-family detached homes. Add a condition requiring apartments, that the apartments have balconies, and then add a condition for the multifamily units that their facades be a mixture of masonry and fiber cement siding. Did I miss anything?
I think that covers it. Ms. Archer.
I was going to request 2 clarifications if possible. Could you read me the first condition?
Increase the percentage of homes with side or rear patios from 50% to 75%.
Okay, thank you. And then could you read me the wording of the condition regarding the elevated foundations? I think it was the 3rd or 4th, not the executive level homes.
And I believe I had this right? 30%?
10% of the.
That's what I was going to ask. I had written down 10% increase.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So it's 20%, we're going to have 20% of executive homes, which will have raised foundations, and then the remainder of the homes, 10% of those will also have raised foundations, meaning 30% of all the single-family dwellings will have raised foundations.
So is it 20% of the homes are executive?
All All of the executive homes will have raised foundations.
Yes, yeah, I get that, but is the 15 was changed from 15 to 20 on the executive, though,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yes.
For every,
Yep.
yeah, all those conditions. All right,
You got it.
okay, so I'll make sure.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mayor, just for a clear record, would the applicant acknowledge that all of those terms and conditions are agreeable?
Yes. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2023-05-03 with the consistency and reasonable statements as well as the conditions discussed this evening.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of the ordinance 2023-0503 with consistency and reasonableness statements, in addition to those others that were listed this evening. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right. Up next is the River Muse Development Agreement. This too, I'm sorry.
Actually, the next approval would need to be the wastewater allocation request for
yes.
Evermuse. And Assistant Engineering Director Jonathan Jacobs is here if you have any questions on that.
Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the wastewater resolution 2023-29.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of the wastewater resolution number 2023-29. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and the motion carries. Now, next up will be the River Muse Development Agreement.
Sorry, you know us planners love our PowerPoints. Again, this is a development agreement for Evermuse. This is a short PowerPoint. So, again, the proposed master plan, and this is the revised master plan that was just approved on the previous item. The development agreement includes a term of 10 years. It includes an overview of the development uses, which are the up to 825 residential units and an event center. It also covers public facilities for the project, the public water extension, public sewer extension to serve the project, as well as potential downstream infrastructure improvements on the public sewer and roadway improvements on NC 42. It includes several items on the non-residential development or the event center use. Includes access, ability for the developer to construct a gravel road for access to the event center, the ability for the developer to utilize the existing well and septic for the event center until the public water and sewer are extended to that portion of the development, and also allows the event center to utilize grass parking in compliance with standards in the Unified Development Code. It includes a section about the a trail easement, utilizing the existing paved access through the property for a trail, and provides requirements for timing of the dedication and improvements, dedication to the town for the trail and improvements of the trail. And it also discusses the potential dedication of a park site.
All right. Any questions for staff? If not, this has been noted as a public hearing, and anyone wishing to speak on this, please step forward and state your name for the record.
I just wanted to bring up the park dedication. It's obviously in the development agreement, and we've had discussions on and off with the town and council members, and we're not really sure where everybody stands. So tonight, we're proposing that we push that as a condition of approval of the developer agreement. And the date we would like to push it to is from 365 days of today. So it gives us all kind of technically a year to figure out how we want to approach this park site. There's a lot of big decisions to be made. There's a lot of amenities that might be able to be put in. And with the Mountain to Sea Trail coming, I think if we can all take a step back and then put our heads together for a plan in the future, it might make more sense to do so. So
I think that's fair. Anyone else? All right, no one else wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to council for discussion. Ms. Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the potential, large donation or negotiation there around the park, I was more in favor of tabling the developers agreement until the next council meeting. And I was just going to put that out there for my fellow council members to consider as well. Not that there's anything wrong with this agreement, but it might be nice to just have a little extra time to kind of hash out some more of those details before we take a vote on this.
Is that going to have a huge impact on your side of the fence?
I mean, it's obviously not ideal. I think everything in the development agreement mimics our conditions. I think the only two outliers is really the park and then the road leading to the event space. And I know I had a conversation with Jonathan, town engineer, about how we're going to tackle that road moving forward. And so really the only question mark within the developer agreement is the park. And so I feel like if we could approve it with that condition, giving us more time on the park, great. Although if you feel more comfortable and it's a greater need to delay it, we're open to it, but it does make things a little bit more difficult on our end at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
being transparent.
It's so cooperative, and I'm open to council discussion on this, but I'm okay with giving it the 365. I think that's fair. I think we'll still be in good hands.
I'm not trying to be a pain. I guess my concern about it is we got it and it was a draft and we got the final copy right before our meeting. So, and then there's apparently something at the email about the owner occupied that we're not sure if we received or not yet. So, how can we, I'm willing to approve it tonight, but how can we do that without, something might have been overlooked or there's an email floating around, just throwing that all out there. I'm not trying to delay it. I'm just saying that there's obviously some holes.
So, and I apologize for not getting this to you until right before the meeting. The park timing actually is in the development agreement. So it's section 9 of the development agreement. It does state that the town and developer shall determine the location, size, amenities, and other terms and conditions of the dedication of the park if any dedication is to occur prior to June 5th, 2024. So that's in there. Regarding the question about the owner occupied requirement, that email did come a little bit later. Staff was busy most of today, and so we were not able to really huddle together and talk about it on a staff side. So there still needs to be some further discussion, at least on the town side, between staff and our attorneys before we can add that language into the development agreement.
So what do we do?
I guess options would be either to table the consideration of the development agreement to another meeting or to approve the development agreement tonight as it's drafted in front of you without that clause in it.
Can we approve it as it is here, but then add that additional item later?
That I'll have to defer to our town attorney about adding items into the development agreement at a later time.
I think once you've approved it, any amendments would require mutual agreement.
All right, I see Joey.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, could we approve it? Could we basically give that our authorization for that item about the owner occupied status or percentage pending attorney review? So basically, if you look into it and there's no problems, you already have our consent, it's approved as such. If there's an legal issue with it, that item's just struck and the rest of the agreement moves forward.
I think that's a good suggestion for that piece of it. The part that's more concerning to me right now is the agreement to agree about the parkland and where we are if we don't agree. I would really prefer to see more definition around the park portion of the deal.
So I will note in the conditions that were just approved, there is a condition that if the parkland dedication is not be agreed upon, that a payment in lieu, a fee in lieu of parkland dedication will be paid pursuant to the town's ordinance, if that helps.
So that's a default.
Yes, and that's a condition that is written into the conditions.
And the town staff is satisfied with that as a default.
Yes.
Mess up their land deal.
Yes, that'd be the default. And I think we're both on the same page that we would love to see us work together as a private-public partnership and, utilize a space that appears to be priceless. And I think there's a kind of a handshake across the table that it's just too big of a decision, I think, to say exactly what we're going to do from an acreage, from a design, from a logistics. And it just allows us to get this approved today and then allows us to further discuss it, knowing that we both want to see this partnership work.
Thank you for that. And looking at the specific language in number 9 there, I think that there is enough of deadline and kind of a language around that I am comfortable with accepting that as is.
I can get comfortable if you want to approve it tonight, subject to legal review.
So when you say subject to legal review, let's just say, just for argument's sake, you find something that you don't like. So then what does that mean?
It means it would come out.
And do you mean for number 9 specifically, or?
No, I was really thinking more about the owner occupancy language.
Okay.
It sounds like the park language is resolved.
And just to clarify, the agreement has been reviewed by the town attorney's office. It's really that language around the owner occupancy that came in a little bit late today that we did not have a chance to really converse with the town attorney on. But the rest of the agreement, the town attorney staff has reviewed and I think for the most part okayed.
So Ben, is this like what was in our agenda packet with the exception of that one thing? Or is there other items that were on here that were not in our agenda packet?
Nothing was added in this copy from what was in your agenda packet. There was just some minor tweaks based on review from our attorney and the developer's attorney and the development team and staff comments. But it was all pretty minor what was modified today. There was one item was around the gravel access road for the event center. There was just some clarification about what exactly that standard would be. And then I believe that was the major change. Most everything else should be as it was in your packet. And Town Manager Capola has.
No, to Ben's point, we spoke on Friday. There were some cleanup items. I think we're still using the term town engineer. That had to be changed to engineering director or engineering department just to make sure it was consistent with our current structure and titles. So most of it was just terminology changes with the one clarification regarding that access road that would be potentially through the floodplain, just requiring that to make sure that it gets all required floodplain permits, and that gravel would be an acceptable consideration since it would be in an environmentally sensitive area in that case.
Okay, somebody make the motion.
Okay.
I move we approve the development agreement with the section regarding owner occupancy subject to legal review.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the development agreement. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, up next under old business is the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance and comprehensive list of fees.
Mayor and council, while Mr. McKay is getting up, well, in front of you, you have the culmination of several months of hard work from staff throughout the organization, many other groups that have provided requests and feedback, as well as a lot of deliberation and discussion with you all. No major changes at this time from what you've seen previously in regards to the budget recommendations. Major elements, obviously all still the same. Tax rate recommended unchanged. Utility rates with changes as they're indicated on the comprehensive list of fees based on our previous discussions. And the overall fiscal year budget expenditures and revenue assumptions remain as they were at the previous public hearing last meeting. So with that, happy to answer any additional questions or any clarifications.
Questions or comments for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Thompson.
I am pleased that, you know, the staff prepared a quality, solid budget that keeps the tax rate the same. You know, we knew that we were going to have to go up on utilities, but we've also found out that that's not as high as what we thought it was going to be. So I'm pleased to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-06-02 for the fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of ordinance 2023-06-02 for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 2023-06-03, the comprehensive list of fees and charges.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of ordinance 2023-06-03 for fiscal year 2023-24. Comprehensive list of fees and charges. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and motion carries. Under new business is the 2023 Road Rehabilitation Project Bid Award.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, Jonathan Jacobs, Assistant Engineering Director. I'm pleased to present tonight a resolution to award the 2023 Road Rehabilitation Project. Town staff held a public bid opening on May 15th, and we received 3 bids for the annual resurfacing project to resurface approximately 5.3 miles of town streets. Fred Smith Company was the apparent low bidder, and town staff is recommending that we award both the base bid of $1,820,597.50 and alternative one of $326,331 for a total of $2,146,928.50 to Fred Smith Company to perform this work. The anticipated project is expected to be completed in November of this year.
Awesome. Questions or comments for staff? Mr. Thompson.
Jonathan, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask that you work with the communications department to put out something to the citizens about this. We get asked as council members all the time, when is my street going to get paved? You know, this street over here is bad. You know, I would like to have something published on this so that people know that we're making this investment, and so that they can see if there are streets on it or where things fall. I think that's important. We get so many questions about that. So, and it also shows that we're working hard to do as many miles of roadway improvements as we can.
Absolutely, we can certainly do that. And in addition to that, we will be working, the contractors required, but also with Nathaniel's office to notify all of the immediate affected property owners, specifically people that park on the street will be affected as we work in their neighborhoods and, you know, the noise and things during the day. So, yeah.
Anyone else? Ms. Archer? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-33.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of Resolution 2023-33. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Now we'll jump on to staff reports, beginning with the town manager.
No, just first and foremost, just want to say thank you for your support with the fiscal year budget here. It's the first one me in my permanent status here, so it was really important for us to kind of spend a lot of time on it, make sure that we were meeting all the needs and the requests that we had. So I just really appreciate all the support you guys have provided and the input. Other than that, just a couple quick reminders. This Saturday, summer program kickoff at Oka Ellington Memorial Library. Also on Saturday from 3 to 5, we'll be having a Juneteenth celebration. Excuse me, this is the first time that we've done this. But our cultural arts department has put together a great program here at the Clayton Center. The event will be from 3 to 5 p.m. With the reception to follow. It'll include multiple community choir performances and a performance by Donna Washington. For those that aren't familiar with Donna, she's an award-winning storyteller, spoken word and recording artist, and author with a global reputation. So again, first opportunity that we have had to put on an event like this. So we'd like to see everybody come out if you're available this Saturday, 3 to 5 here at the Clayton Center. Other than that, just ready to finish out fiscal year 23, and so we can get moving on all the fiscal year 24 priorities. Thank you.
All right. Town attorney?
Sorry about that. Next Saturday. I apologize. I'm getting ahead of it. The 17th.
I was going to say, I thought it was June 19th.
June 17th. However, we are actually closed on Monday, the 19th.
In observance.
So, yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Mr. Attorney?
Just briefly, Mayor, I want to announce that Clayton has a new resident, 8 days old. I have a granddaughter now, and her name is Elena Jane Shulkin.
Wow.
And I know I don't look that old.
How many grandchildren is this now? That's your very first. Oh my God. That is awesome. Congratulations. That's wonderful. You're going to be looking for a raise now because, you know, little granddaughters are more expensive than daughters. You know how that goes. That's great. Town clerk?
No report.
Thank you. Now we'll jump down to the downtown social district topic with Patrick Pierce, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mayor, Town Council. Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director. So wanted to give an update here. We've received several inquiries about social district. That's a piece of legislation passed, I think, 2 or 3 years ago by the General Assembly that allows for limited with rules, but open consumption in certain areas. In predominantly downtown areas. It's something that's garnered a lot of interest. I think there's about 25 communities across North Carolina that have created and developed some sort of a social district there. We have looked at it. We attended a North Carolina League of Municipalities event, and they went through all the different pieces and parts, and there's been a lot of change in legislation, and would like to revisit that as a possibility. There's been, again, strong support. We've talked to folks, especially in the retail side of things, and we've heard from lots of residents around about interest in asking, why doesn't Clayton have one of these? So something we want to dig into, and looking for what staff is looking to do is start with some info sessions with business owners, especially focus on those with ABC permits, because they're the ones that at the end of the day are going to be serving, and it's their permits essentially on the cups. Like to then be able to survey the business owners and really get a sense. Obviously, we want to make sure that there's support, and those folks that do serve alcohol want to participate, because we got to have that participation there, and also potentially create a task force to kind of bird dog this and bring forward a recommendation to council. As part of that, there's got to be an enabling ordinance that allows that to happen, and then that goes to the ABC board for approval as well. So there's quite a bit of process here in order to set that up and get that up in a reasonable amount of time. So it's a many or several month effort. It's not something that's going to turn around quick. Certainly a lot of opportunity for people to be able to provide feedback, but wanted to kind of get your all feedback on if we're heading in the right direction there. It's something you want us to all pursue, but something we wanted to have that conversation here tonight.
Comments, Mr. Thompson?
I appreciate the level of scrutiny and caution with regard to moving forward on this. We hear a lot of residents that say, hey, we need a social district like everybody else has, you know, we want one. And then you hear some of the merchants that say, I'm a little leery, you know, I don't want somebody else to bring their alcohol into my business when they didn't buy it from me, you know. So I think, you know, there's two distinct sides of this. We don't want to do anything to hurt our wonderful businesses, but we also want to listen to the citizens. And I think there's some kind of there may be a middle ground on this, or this may be something that we just decide isn't worth pursuing, or maybe through the information sessions that you're proposing, enough information will come out of this to make a good informed decision by everybody. Because I think everybody, you know, I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt any of our downtown businesses. And, you know, as much as I think the citizens' view is, oh, that's easy, make a motion, vote on it, and we'll carry our beers up Main Street. But I don't think this is not something that can be taken that lightly. And I appreciate the fact that you're going about this the right way. And I think that's the way to handle it, is to do thorough information sessions. What is the feasibility? What legally can you do? You know, put as much information out there as we can, and then let us make an informed decision, because I just don't think we as a council have enough information yet to make an informed decision. And part of that is informed decision from our current merchants of how this will affect their business.
Yeah, with my conversation with Patrick, the key to this is education. And without education, then everyone has their own definition of what a social district is. The presentation presented at a breakout session at the North Carolina League of Municipalities Conference, the young lady did an amazing job. And I'm thinking she was from Salisbury. I don't remember exactly, but I would like for us to get up with the league and find out who that was. She would be a wonderful speaker to come in and to educate all the processes that they went through, what the law says, how it impacts a bar, how it impacts a everyday retail merchant. Mm-hmm. Like she broadened everybody's horizon with the knowledge and information that she had. And I think before anybody can make a decision, we got to understand. We think we know what this is, but until we have someone come in who has studied and implemented it and knows the law surrounding it and the benefits and the things that, you know, the hurdles that they had that we should know about early on, so we don't have to jump those same hurdles. It's that kind of thing. So I'm all in favor of that. And I think it would be great to try to find some of those guest speakers to come here and speak to a group collectively.
Or we can certainly work on that. I did download the
slide.
slide.
You don't have to do all the homework and do all
the so I downloaded the slides already because they were made available. I believe it was the woman from Greensboro who had done a lot of that work, as I recall.
She was from Greensboro.
Yeah, and I'm happy to reach out. I believe she started in their police department helping to implement this and actually moved over to actually run it. So that was a pretty interesting story she had.
Yes. Mr. Casey.
I think as we look for like a stakeholder group or so, I think it'd be a good idea to get the DDA involved in this. I think they did a fantastic job with the lighting, supporting the businesses down with that code change. So I think if we could, you know, I'd recommend having the DDA be that kind of advisory board for this process.
Thank you for that. I meant to say that because I think that in my mind went without saying that they would be engaged, but yes, absolutely. We want to have the DDA at the center of this.
And I would think the chamber as
well. And the chamber as well, absolutely. And we've already had conversations with them because obviously with some of the big festivals like Harvest Fest and such, there's an interest there in seeing how we can make this work in the future.
Anyone else? All right.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now open the floor for informal discussion and public comment. Anyone wish to speak? No one wishing to speak. I'll turn it over to council for comments. Mr. Sims.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank the council and you too, Mr. Mayor, on this River Muse project that we just approved. It's going to be a 800-unit project. I think that at the end of the day, we're going to get some flag feedback. We're going to have media who don't even interview us, any of us, make certain comments. But I'm thanking all you up here because I realize the work that everybody put in to get the developer to make a lot of concessions shows that we're not looking at just anything coming into Clayton, that we're concerned to the extent that we put in the extra work. And if nobody else is going to thank us, then I want to make sure that I thank each and everybody up here, because the decisions that we have to make is not based upon what we like or what we don't like. It's based upon us assuring that there's quality things that are coming into Clayton.
Yes. I agree. Mr. Casey.
I'd actually like to echo Councilman Sims' comments on that. I know we didn't really deliberate at the end for the vote, but for me, I mean, I'd love to just buy that land and, you know, have it for my own, or have the town buy the land and us have it as a big park. But unfortunately, that's not a reality. And so, you know, we did, you know, ask a lot of questions, and, you know, I think we tried to get the best that we could for that particular parcel. And, you know, I trust that those gentlemen will do it right, because we will be watching.
Yeah, and not only that, but listen, we want people to come to Clayton and we want them to invest here. And while there are market studies from all across the United States that tell you what trends are and percentages are, but really no one's really knows, you know, the market as well as people who've lived here all their life. And I'm tickled to death that someone wants to come to Clayton and make an investment in Clayton, a substantial monetary investment in Clayton, and they're open to what we need. And they're open to suggestions from us about what they need and how what we think will help them to develop the best product on the market that will sell itself. And you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a marketing campaign. All it's going to take is for someone to ride out there and to see and go, wow, this is where I want to live, you know? And it's wonderful that we have seen that developers want to come to Clayton and they want to bring us the type of product that they know that we need, right? And I think that's, like, tonight is the first time I've truly experienced how a developer is so flexible as they can be, as flexible as they can be on the spot, as flexible as they can be to, you know, work together to create a common goal, common vision, and create the type of communities and neighborhoods that we want to see in Clayton. I thought it was brilliant.
Gives me even more comfort that you're right.
Right. And it goes back to, you have not because you ask not. And in our early days of Clayton developing, right, we took whatever. We didn't ask, can you modify this? Can you modify that? Can you do away with siding? Can you add 40% brick on the facade? Like, we never did that. But now Clayton has grown so much, and we as an elected body have gotten well more educated in all of this process, that now we know how to ask. And it's making a huge difference. Better quality for our citizens. I love it. All right. Anybody else? Thank you all for your attendance this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.